Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Today's video is going to be about college football. I figured since week 1 is now less than 4 weeks away, I would go ahead and come on here and tell you some of the opening lines as far as some of the point spreads in these games. Now, I'm not going to talk about every single game because there's a lot of games. You can look on the schedule and you can pretty much know when you see who's playing that team's going to win that game. So there's no point in discussing it. But I'm going to talk about some of the ones that are more relevant that could go either way. And before I get into it, let me go ahead and say, just so there's no confusion from anybody out there watching this video, I don't gamble and I don't promote gambling. So when I talk about these games, I'm just talking about the point spreads. I'm not going to give winners and losers and talk about betting because I don't do that. But of course, week 1 will start on Thursday, September the 2nd. And as of right now, Central Florida is a 5-point favorite over Boise State. And NC State is a 17.5-point favorite over South Florida. And the only reason why that game is relevant, in my opinion, is because NC State may just be the second best team in the ACC this year. Of course, if they are, most people won't know because they're on the same side of the ACC as Clemson is. And I'm not saying they're going to beat Clemson, but outside of Georgia, NC State is probably the toughest team on Clemson's schedule, and they'll probably be the second best team in the ACC this year. So their opening game right now, they're a 17.5-point favorite over South Florida, and Tennessee is a 33-point favorite over Bowling Green. And this game is relevant because Bowling Green may be one of the worst teams in Division I football this year, but I'm excited to see what Josh Heupel, which in my opinion his name should be pronounced Josh Heupel, what he'll do in game 1 as Tennessee's head coach. It looked like Hendon Hooker was going to be their starting quarterback, but as the season gets closer, now according to rumors, Joe Milton, the transfer from Michigan, as of right now looks like he will be their starting quarterback. I guess we'll wait until that Thursday night to find out. And then on Friday, a conference game between North Carolina and Virginia Tech. And of course, in my opinion, it's Justin Fuente's final year in Blacksburg. And their opening game, they're a 5.5-point underdog right now against North Carolina. And also on that Friday, another conference game, Northwestern is a 4.5-point favorite over Michigan State. And of course, Pat Fitzgerald, Northwestern's coach, is one of the best coaches in the country, but you never really get to see how good he can be because Northwestern is very tough academically to get into, so they never have a lot of 5-star players, but he's a great coach. And then on Saturday, right now, we've got Michigan, a 17.5-point favorite over Western Michigan. And of course, Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion, is on the hot seat. And I know Western Michigan is not any good, but they will score. So can Michigan score enough points to win that game by 17 points? And another conference game that Saturday out of the Big Ten, Wisconsin is a 4-point favorite right now over Penn State. And another Big Ten conference game, Iowa is a 4.5-point favorite over the Hoosiers of Indiana. And Alabama right now is an 18-point favorite over Miami. Now, of course, these were the odds as of this past Thursday, so they may still change some more as the season gets closer, but I don't think they'll change much because the majority of these lines came out back in June, early July, and most of them haven't changed one way or the other a whole lot. As a matter of fact, The next game on my list is Clemson and Georgia, and Clemson is favored by 3.5, which, if I'm not mistaken, when that opening line came out, it was 3.5, and I think it may have gotten up to Clemson by 4.5 or 5, and that was as big as it got. And then it went back down to 3.5, and it's been at 3.5 now for, I know, 2.5, 3 weeks, which means that almost everybody thinks Clemson's going to win, but almost everybody thinks Clemson's going to win in a close game. And let me say this real quick, just because the game is getting closer and closer. I've got a good friend of mine who is a big Georgia fan, and he came in the other day, and I gotta give it to him. I did not notice it, but he came in talking about JT Daniels, and he had watched some of JT Daniels' media day conversation from a couple of weeks ago, whatever day it was, and it was only funny to me because he was a Georgia fan poking fun of his own quarterback. But he said if you ever have insomnia and you cannot sleep, he found the new cure for insomnia, and the new cure for insomnia is watching JT Daniels talk. And I thought he was kind of exaggerating, so I just had to get on my phone and type up JT Daniels talking, and I heard about 3 minutes of it, and it was after work, so I was laying down, and sure enough, 3 minutes into it, I was asleep. So can you imagine 30 years ago, back when teams huddled up? Of course, nowadays everybody runs the spread, so nobody really huddles much anymore. But back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, if JT Daniels was quarterbacking and his team had the ball and they got the ball with about 2.5, 3 minutes to go and they were down by 3 points, JT Daniels comes in the huddle and says, "Okay, guys, here we go. We got the ball. We're down by 3 with 3 minutes to go. All we got to do is score and we can win this game." Boy, I tell you what, if that right there don't make you want to run through walls, there's something wrong with you. So if you ever have insomnia and you can't sleep, just turn on JT Daniels and you'll be asleep. And the next game on my list is LSU. Right now they're a 4.5 point favorite over UCLA. And this next game on my list, to me, is a joke. It's the biggest joke out of all the games that I wrote down. But that is Texas is a 9.5 point favorite over Louisiana. And then Notre Dame is a 9.5 point favorite over Florida State. And let me quickly say, speaking of Florida State, while we're on the subject of Florida State, if you have not heard yet, their former head coach, Bobby Bowden, who is the winningest head coach in major college football with 383 career wins, is in critical condition. He's not doing so well. He's been diagnosed with a terminally ill disease, and he's not doing good at all. So best wishes to Coach Bowden. And then Ole Miss right now is an 8 point favorite over Louisville. So I just thought I would come on here and talk about some of the opening games and tell you some of the opening lines in probably the 14, in my opinion, best games in the opening weekend. Of course, there's never going to be a weekend where every single game is going to be good. And like I said, if you look at the schedule for week 1, some of the games, you can look at it and you can automatically look and say, well, this game's a blowout. This game's a blowout. So to me, those games ain't even worth mentioning. But these games, in my opinion, not necessarily could go either way, but at least they could be closer than what they say the experts think. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. A frog got his DNA tested. Turns out he's part Irish, part British, and a tad Pole. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.